Hey everybody, my name's Adam. I'm very happy to be here. Today we're going to be talking about how we can take an idea and turn it into an application in minutes, and we use a ton of AI along the way, and we'll look at that. I'm the founder of Buzzy. We're an AI-powered no-code platform that is going to revolutionize the way that you can create applications. And by applications, I mean both web and native mobile, so iOS and Android. So today we're going to cover just an overview of what's involved in kickstarting things. We're going to talk about how we can enhance things. So we kickstart with AI, we can enhance with Figma, and then we can extend with code. I'll be covering all of that. And then I'm going to give you a sneak peek at some of the new features that we're working on that hopefully we're going to be getting betas out within the coming weeks. So please sign up and yeah, just have a go, get onto the Buzzy platform and have a go, put a prompt in and start creating an app. So let's just give you an overview of the application. So we've got an idea and we want to turn it into something that works. And there's a huge chasm of things that you have to do to be able to get it from that starting point to the end. And typically what you're going to see is that you're going to go through a concept and planning stage, things like idea generation, project planning, all that usual stuff. And then you're going to go into the design phase. And in that stage, you're going to go through UX design. So things like developing your wireframes, clickable prototypes, UI design, things like high fidelity mockups. And then you've got this painful take as design files. So typically most people are using Figma for that design. And then you've got to do that, prepare that handover to the development team. And the development team then can do get into the front end development, and then there's the back end development. And you've got all the data binding and business logic to add in, and then you might be integrating it as well. And then you've got the testing phase and make sure that everything works within the product and the platform. And you've got then things like security and performance testing. And then you've got the deployment. You need to get it running on a web server, out in the cloud somewhere probably, or on-premise if you're on-premise. And then you've got the mobile application development. So there's a lot to think about. And this is obviously a simplified view, but even a simplified view, it's pretty complex. And then once things go live, you then need to think about how you maintain the application and continue to enhance it, fix bugs, and just make sure that everything keeps running smoothly. So the really painful bits, that we see a lot of, and we speak to a lot of different organizations, is that design to dev handover is really painful and slow. And the more you iterate with your application, the better it gets. But with each one of those iterations, if you're going through that whole process or some subset of it, it gets multiplied. And then the maintenance of the application post the initial build, and that is a huge cost. So the net result is it's really slow and expensive. So the promise of AI is, how do we start with this idea and then, get it to something that works? And, that's all of our, dream, is that we're going to sort of wave the magic wand and it's just going to work. In the reality, when you start looking at just using LLMs as an example, large language models, to generate a complex entire application, and believe me, I've tried this, is most of the time you're dealing with a massive amount of codes. You might have tens or hundreds of thousands of lines of code, and for the AI to ingest that and understand it accurately, it's just too complex for it. You can't trust it because every time you go through a prompt, it's non-deterministic. Even if you turn down the dial on a lot of those parameters that try and make it as deterministic as possible, you get, it's just different every single time. So the code is not reliable, it's not secure, and it's not performant. And then in the event of the AI has created this giant chunk of code, handing that over to the development team, there's just too much code. It can't be consumed by the development team, and you need like an army of developers. You think about it, nobody's ever seen that code. And now you need somebody to be able to understand it if you want to enhance it, if you want to find bugs and so on. So it's a huge issue and challenge in a very, very complex problem. So this is why today probably the most common approach that you see is using AI in a Copilot approach to development, and you're working in little chunks of code. Recently we did we use a lot of AI and we use Copilot as part of it, and we try to use general chunks of code. And even working in little chunks of code where there's multiple, functions or modules, it just can't be trusted. And so you're really working at, if you're working in, things like Visual Studio, and that you're working in these little chunks of, line by line, function by function type of help, and it's an awesome help. So how we are changing this is that we've got 3 phases when you're going through that development process. Firstly, you can use AI to kickstart and build a full working application. We're going to do that in a minute, and you can get the full application working. Then, if you get to a point, and today with the current version, you'll probably get to within an hour, you'll probably get to a breaking point. You've asked the AI so much, it just can't get you to the next phase. So we don't want a dead end over there. We want to be able to pull it into a design tool, aka Figma in our example, and you can create the entire design file in a matter of minutes, and then you can tweak it and enhance it and extend it within that Figma UX tool. So Figma becomes like the code at that point in time, and it's like a no-code platform. And then, if needed, you can develop front-end code widgets for extended functionality that you couldn't do with the AI or couldn't do with Figma, and then you can write custom code widgets. So typically they're written as ReactJS and HTML and JavaScript. They'll actually run on the native as well. They just run in a little iframe as part of the full native application. And then you can also make external calls to backend systems. So so 2 options for extending with code: front-end code widgets and then API calls. And then, so the net result is that you can create web and mobile apps in a fraction of the time and a fraction of the cost with a fraction of the skill and team. And there was actually a quote from one of our customers when I asked him. I said, what do you see the benefits of using Buzzy are? So overall, our goal is, how do we go across that complex process and just reduce time, cost, and the amount of code that you're dealing with, that's going to speed up the whole process, which ultimately makes it more cost effective as well. So what we're doing is kind of really interesting, and we're really stoked, and we think it's awesome. Let's go into the actual example of that. So let's go to, I'm going to just flick out of this, and we're going to come back to that in a second. Let's go over here, make this a bit bigger. We're gonna go into the Buzzy workspace, and we're gonna create an application. And the first application that we're gonna create is a stock application. Now, with the kickstart phase, you start with a prompt. It's going to create a data model. You're then going to generate the design, and you can have a look at it, and you can actually tweak it with the AI. So this is all within Kickstart. And there's 2 different interfaces of this. If you start on our website, you just put a prompt in and hit go, and it goes through all the stages first round. But we'll go through this over here step by step. So we're going to create an app to track many stock portfolios. Each portfolio has a name and many stocks, and each stock has a name, ticker code, current price, and a price history text field. And I'm doing that because of the next part of the demo. And we want to allow users to add stocks to their portfolio, and for each stock, the portfolio to buy a price and the number of shares. So what we're doing is defining the application and giving it as much information as we can about the functionality and the data model. Now, if you're using our Figma plugin, you can actually go in and edit. This is what we call the brief. Think of this as like a mini product requirements doc, or PRD. And it's given a name. Now we can go back over here and change the prompt in this user interface and tweak it. But it will give you a name, description, some of the functions like manage portfolios, add stock, view stock details, and the different user roles. And then very importantly, things like the data requirements. So so for example, like portfolio stocks is a many-to-many relationship. If you're not familiar with data relationships, typically you've got 3 types of relationships. So one-to-one, which is just saying, hey, one data object is related to one other. One-to-many, so when you've got a portfolio and has many stocks in it, that has a good example. And then many-to-many, so when those stocks, you don't want to replicate the stock in every single portfolio. You might have 5 portfolios. You might only want to keep the stock in the system once. So that's called a many to many to many. So on our website, I go through a bunch of these data models. So that's kind of data model 101 stuff. So what it's going to do is it's going to take that application brief now and create the actual data model. So the data model is the database that will drive the application. It's a really, really important component or part of the process that is sitting underneath your application that determines what information is captured, and the relationship between that data. So we can see over here we've got a portfolio. It's got a name and a subtable. A subtable is that one to many relationship. So a portfolio has many portfolio stocks. Then the portfolio stock fields over here. We've got inside each portfolio stock, we've got a stock, we've got a buy price, a buy date, and a number of shares. Now, obviously, we're using a very simple example here. For your specific application, you might write and spend a bunch of time writing a much more sophisticated prompt or tweaking the brief to get you something that's more accurately representing the application that you're building. Then you've got a stock, and it's got a ticker code, current price, and a price history. And then we've got a user field. And so a very simple data model, which is great for the demo today. The next thing you do is you choose a theme. And this is going to be important, obviously, in terms of determining how you want your application to be built. Now, what's actually happening behind the scenes is it's constructing a screen structure for your application, a flow or a sitemap, if you think of it like that, which is how the screens all work together and how the data all hangs together. Now, it's taking its best stab at what it understands and what it's been trained as in performing that step. It may not be perfect. So the overall goal over here is when you're building an application, think of the analogy of you trying to get to the top of a mountain to build your application, either web or native app or both. Most applications we see out there tend to have both. So you might have a web interface where people are using it on desktop, and then you might have a native mobile application that maybe people are using it out and about. And we see a lot of business applications being created like that. Some consumer applications, obviously. Let's just click over here. So that's actually finished. So the analogy of getting to the top of the mountain is you can, AI will get you part of the way there in that kickstart phase. That second phase that I mentioned before of enhance with Figma, that will get you the next part of the way there if needed. And then if needed, to get to the top of the mountain, you might need to bring in a coder that will get you all the way to the top. So some mountains are pretty small, and the AI might get you all the way to the top. The next mountain might be medium size. You might be AI and a little bit of Figma, and then other mountains you might need to bring in some, somebody with a pickaxe and oxygen and get a specialist to get you all the way to the top. So think about that analogy. Now, this is the first version of the application. Now, just by the way, this is running as a web application to start off with, and you don't have to rewrite this or do anything. As long as that application is responsive, and that we can turn this into a native application that will go into your app store. So we give you, the APK files or the different files for Google and Apple. And under the covers, we're actually using React Native, so it is a proper native application, and it will interpret that into those native componentry. So this can be instantly actually shared. So that share button that we oops, where was I? Yeah, I was. So I just lost which screen I was on. Yeah, sorry, that one. So you can actually access this on the web now. It'll probably, if you're going to access this specific one, it'll actually ask you for a URL, and you have to go through a sign-in process. But you can make an application anonymous, so you don't need to sign in. So obviously certain applications might do that. In this example, by default, it's created a secure application, and you need to sign in to get access to the application. And we've got different levels of security, so you can have security at the application level, then down at the data model level. So specific data tables can each have security settings, all the way down to the row and field level. So you can set that up, but I won't be covering that today. So this is an application that you can actually go, okay, right, here's our stock portfolio app, and we can have a look at it. We can see how it functions. So we can go into a portfolio. Here we've got a list of stocks. So we've got, Amazon and so on. We can then, depending on, it's created some sample data. And for example, it's created Tesla. So I'm going to put in a buy price. I don't even know what Tesla's stock price is, but just going to put in, let's say I bought that on that date, and let's say I bought 100 shares, and I can submit that. So this is a full stack application that's working with a database. We can see here we've added Telstra to that. If we clicked into that, it'll actually navigate to the shared stock. Remember, we talked about many-to-many relationships. So this is Tesla. So if we've got Tesla in multiple portfolios, it's the same data, and then we can see which portfolios that it's shared in. So it's a very simple application. We've got some navigation over here. You could add a new portfolio, and then you can obviously add stocks to the system. Now, if you remember before, I mentioned that you can integrate this with the API. So we could be populating this from an API or backend and just having all the stocks that are on the stock market. Obviously, for this example, I've just kept it really simple. So this is our simple stock portfolio app. If we go back to the workspace, let's just go in here. We've got this little chat on the right-hand side, and we can do things in here, like we can say, give the app. Or actually, let's go back to the home page. We're on the home page. Let's change the name to AI user group. Portfolio app. We'll give it, and we can do this. So you can, within the kickstart phase, you can prompt it to make changes. You can make changes to the data model. You can make changes to things like the look and feel. I'm going to show you a link over here that's really important. So if you go into our documentation and you look at these example prompts, it's got some examples of how to give a good initial prompt. I mean, these again are very simple. We see much more complex ones. I wouldn't keep it. I would keep it as lean and mean as possible. I would start simple and then build up from there, as opposed to give it like a 10-page diatribe that tries to do everything in the initial prompt. It's just a lot easier for the AI to ingest and then make modifications. And again, just think of it, we're trying to save you time to get up to the top of the mountain. And again, you're probably not going to get all the way there just with AI, depending on the complexity of your application. So you can add things like add fields to the database. You could change the design. We've also got an integration with Adobe Express, so you can get in there and change things like the design images. But this shows you how to target some of the design elements, so like change things to a table, and then you can actually add custom code widgets and that through that as well. But we're going to just be doing that in our example today mainly. So literally that was the first version of the application. Let's see, did it actually change that? Where were we? I thought I changed the name. There might be a little bug over there, but let's see again. You can modify the design. I could say change the look and feel to light, bright. Look and feel. Now, just by the way, I'm actually running not in our production environment because I want to show you some new features. So we might hit some little glitches along the way, but let's see what we can do over here. So So we've asked it to make it like a bit lighter and brighter. We can see we've gone from that dark look and feel here to a little bit of a lighter look and feel. And again, we could change things into tables, and so on. So it's given a white background. Cool. So I'm going to come back to the workspace over here and just give you a quick run through. So we've obviously got our brief. So that's the prompt that we started with, and this is our brief. We've got our data model. So these are the data models, or think of it as the content management system that's running behind the scenes that's driving the application. So these are the different data tables that we can see over here. So for example, if we looked at a portfolio, we've got 2 stocks in that portfolio, and they'll link out to a particular stock as well. So it's understood the data relationships and set up all the data models and the relationships between those data models. Now, let's say as the next stage, we want to make a change to this. So I want to go from the kickstart phase and move into the enhance phase. Once you've made this change, you can reverse it and go back to AI, but it won't take the changes that you've made within Figma. So you're kind of making a transition from that one phase to the other. Now I'm going to open this in a UI kit. And this is just a standard Figma file that's going to open the application in Figma. Now, I'm going to give you a quick run through of the Figma file first, and it won't have anything in it. So it gives you some instructions of how to pull your application into the app over here. So we're going to pull it into this blank screen that says your app here. Now, the design kit is made up of a set of components. So it has a series of atoms, that are used. So this atoms, molecules, and this is a common way of just defining and designing the design kit. So if you're familiar with Figma, you'll be very familiar with this. So it's got all the overlays, and then it's got things like, some specific screens that are common screens in that. Now, the benefit of using these components is if you've used this in your Figma file, you change it once and it just will replicate to everywhere. So it's a component-based approach to developing the design file, but also that will translate directly to the application. Now, I wanted to show you this inspiration tab. So this is using that set of components or UI kit. This is actually giving some examples of of creating all different types of design patterns. So that's a dashboard. Here's a sort of a typical sort of home or menu sort of layout. This is a bit more structured. So a lot of business applications, we're dealing with lots of data. It's more of a table-driven view, and then there's this is like a online movie application, and then there's just a quick one over here of laying out some content. Now, actually, one of the things I didn't do was test this on this server. So I'm actually running, because I want to show you some of the new features. I'm just running a beta of our Figma plugin. So within Figma, you can have plugins, and you can let's just create this. You can let's go in here, copy that link. So it's the first time what you're doing is you're creating a relationship between the Figma file and the application that's going to live on the server. In this example, it was a new application. So we just created a new application. For the application, the stock portfolio application that we looked at previously, the application already existed on the server, and we're going to pull it into Figma, and then we're going to change it and publish it. But just before we do that, I wanted to show you this set of components, because this actually gives you an example of the dashboard application that we just did that. So that's taken, and by the way, it's like fully responsive. This one was done, to be responsive to desktop. Let's just hit the back button here. So these are just a set of little samples that are kind of nice to use. So these are like proper working web applications, and obviously they translate as well to native applications. So if you're building it, what you build over here, the goal is to build it once. and then it will deal with all the different form factors and platforms as well. So again, if we looked at this project and task one, this is pretty cool. And then so with that UI kit, you can build anything again, and it's like a fully responsive one. And I know. So this is like the design side over here. And again, so this gives you like an amazing starting point looking at these samples. That one's obviously, not responsive. Actually, so you can actually do things like, horizontal scroll in that one through the movies there. So if you, well, you can do that. And again, obviously for like a mobile device, that would work really nicely, that sort of horizontal scroll. And then the last one over here is this little booklet. It's just an example of how you'd like set up things like a little wizard or previous and next screens and so on. I don't think there's any content over here, but again, it shows how that's working. And again, it's all responsive. So with that UI kit and with a little bit of investment in time of how to use Buzzy with Figma, and that you can start building some pretty sophisticated stuff. So let's go back to the demo over here. And where are we? Not doing well on my screens today. Let's have a look over here. Actually, just before I forget about it, we do have a set of templates over here that you can literally things like it's fairly small list at the moment, but we'll increase this. So you could create, like, for example, a working support ticket app without going anywhere near Figma or the AI. So if these are a better starting point for you, things like a product catalog, if these are a better starting point for you, and use that, and then you get the Figma file as well. So it's just an easier way. So if you're building a product catalog, like for an online store or just a list of products, this could be a faster starting point for you as opposed to starting with AI. Now, let's have a look. Let's go back over here, and I think. So I'll just, here we go. That was the screen I was looking for. I'm going to put it up here so I don't forget. So we've gone into the Figma file, and we want to be able to pull this application in. So if we go back to this blank page here, I'm just going to rerun the plugin. And this plugin's available for free. The first thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to import an app. And what this will do is we'll communicate with the server and import an application that we've got running on the server. So I think I've got, let's just have a look at this stock. I didn't give it a name. Actually, let me go back over here. I have a feeling this might be it. I was doing a demo, just practicing this demo last week. So let's just import this app. So what this is going to do is it's going to look to the server and actually use that UI kit to publish the application. To create the Figma file for you. So it's created 35 screens. For those of you who know Figma really well, if I came to you and I gave you the requirement for creating the stock application, it's going to take you a bunch of time and effort, even using a set of components, probably many hours or maybe a day or so to be able to create this Figma file. I think I ask a lot of designers and I say, how long would it take you to create this application? Often we're doing more sophisticated ones, let's say instead of 35 screens, maybe 40 or 50 or 60 screens, and they go probably about a week. So what we've done then in a matter of seconds allows us to, I'm just going to go and we're going to exit the wizard here. We're going to do this. We're going to have a look at it. So that just speeds up the process. Now, again, if we want to come in and this little minimize option here is a good option with the plugin because it takes up a bunch of real estate. And if you want to keep it open without having to reload it. Now, I can come in and we can have a look at, for example, the home page over here. And that's where we've got our list of portfolios. Now, what's happened behind the scenes is that we have, let's just we can see over here we've got our brief, we've got our data model, so we can modify everything in the data model, and we're going to go through an example of modifying that in a sec. We've got the design. So if I click on design, we can see that this frame in Figma has been marked up as a screen. And as we drill down the structure over here, and again, it's nicely laid out on the left panel here. But let's say if we went to this item, I'm just going to click in here, and we went to like a list group. This is what we call a view. View is like a query or a list of items, and we can see that this view is pulling data out of the portfolio data table that is sitting in the database. So we're creating a relationship with these frames or rectangles or whatever you want to call them on the screen and the data, as well as you might have, you can have, it might not just be, data, for example, over here. Let's see where this is. So you can also have actions. So you can have actions. There's a whole bunch of, you can have info, you could have views, fields, views, fields, and forms that are used to create your application. We have a 6-lesson tutorial at the moment. It's about an hour in total. It's actually about 45 minutes, but let's just say an hour. It's well worth going through that because it explains how to take a blank Figma file and actually create an application from the ground up. So you're learning the basics. So when the AI generates you an application, you now know how to come in and enhance and modify it. So again, if we looked at, if I went down to here, that field on the screen is pulling out data from the portfolio, and that's the portfolio name. So again, we're creating this relationship between the screen elements and the database, as well as the actions and other capabilities as well. So it's going to bring out that list of portfolios. Now let's go down to the portfolio. Actually, we'll go down to the stock details page. So this over here is the list of stocks, and this over here is the stock details. Now, what I want to do over here is I want to be able to enhance this and actually have like a price history, like a graph. Just before we do that, I'm going to go in and we're going to just change. If we look, let's say if we click on here, we can have a look that within the design file that we've done, and we've set this up for you, depending on your Figma license and that, you'll have access to more or less of these. But we've set up the ability for you to access a whole ton of different variables for all the elements in the design file. So we've got a dark, light, and a savory look and feel. If I went and I changed, let's say the theme over here to savory, we'll see that it's going to use all those. So we're using Figma variables behind the scenes, which again just makes it easy to be able to change the look and feel. So we've given it a savory look and feel. So if I go and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new application. I'm going to call it called AI user group portfolio app. And I'm going to I could link it to the one that we previously had, but I'm going to create a new application. So what this is doing is it's creating an application on the server. So again, I'm just doing this for demo purposes, but we created the application in AI, we generated a Figma file, and then we then published. We would normally link it back to that application and publish it back up. So let's have a look at that application in live mode, and we should see. has now got the savory look and feel. So again, so very easy to be able to, and this has obviously got a different set of portfolios and things in here. So it's very easy to be able to modify the look and feel. Now you can go to your heart's content, and what has been created here is a starting point. So you can add screens, you can add fields to the database, you can modify it to look exactly. So like as an example over here, let me just find an application. Let's do so this is an application that's the AI strategy app. This was one that we started with AI. We've got a whole blog article that explains how we did this. We generated an app, and then our designer came in and just changed the look and feel of it completely. Changed the screens. We added our own onboarding screens. This generates AI strategies for users. So this is actually a SaaS application. It's got full subscriptions in here. You can go into, it's got a concept of organizations. Each organization can have many strategies, projects, and tasks. So it's actually developing this. So again, you get full control of the Figma file and the look and feel in here, and Figma becomes like your code. When you hit the publish button, it just skips over that whole design to dev handover and makes it work. So that's really the core concept of what we're doing over here, of getting it to go from what the AI has created, enhance it with Figma, and then go to that next level. So let's go back to our application. Now, what I want to do is on the stock page, on the stock details page, so this is the stock details page, what I'm going to do is I want to do a few different things. I want to add an actual chart to show me the stock details. So I'm going to come into the assets over here, and I'm just going to look for what we call the code widget. And by the way, I'm not a Figma person, and so I'm actually my background is technical, and yeah, so I can use Figma. Just I'm dangerous enough. So and let's hope what I'm going to do over here is going to work. So what I've done is I've added a code widget, and this is where we're going to go from that enhance phase in Figma, and then we're going to go into the extend phase where we can add code widgets. So we looked at before where we did like a very simple enhancement. We changed the look and feel from the dark look and feel to the savory look and feel. Now that was like a simple enhancement. We could have added screens, fields, components, changed the look and feel completely, like that AI strategy app example. But in this example, so now we're going to the next phase, which is you need some development skills. Now you don't really need development skills to get started, but you can, because we can use AI to generate that code, and I'll show you that in a sec. So I'm going to change this to fill container, and so this is what I want to do is I want to show a chart which has got the stock history for the particular stock in question. And the first thing I need to do is I need to modify the data model for our stock. I'm going to create a new field, and I want to change the stock data table, and I'm just going to add a new field for chart, which is where that code widget's going to sit. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to select code widget. We're going to save that. So that's the first step, is I change the data model. And again, you can modify this if what was produced by the AI initially, or you need to modify it. I've seen organizations completely change the entire application. Now, the next step that we're going to do over here is we're going to select that item and go into design, and we're going to associate that with that code widget. So we're taking the screen element and we're going to set it to summary mode. And now we're going to come in and we're going to update the app. If you're changing the data model, you need to update the entire app. If you're just changing screen elements or adding screen elements, you can just update just that screen, which is a lot faster for every one of those iterations. So what this is doing is it's now communicating with the server, and it's going to have, if we flick back to our application, Let's just go into stocks. Let's go into a stock. There's actually going to be this gap over here is where that code widget is. Now, we haven't put any code in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the data model. I'm going to go down to, actually, did we publish a new? Sorry, I need to make sure I'm in the right application. Just going to go into that one that we called AI portfolio. Let's go into the data model. Let's go down to the stock data table. And let's look at the fields over here. And we can see now we've got a code widget here that we added from Figma. And when we published it, it updated this application on the server. Now, you can do this in the plugin, but the plugin's quite restricted. I prefer to do this in the workspace. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a prompt that I've written for creating that code widget. So I'm going to use the following API to get the stock prices for the last 12 months. It's going to substitute in the ticker code, and it's going to render the chart showing the price history in a line chart format and only show the history for the last 12 months. So this will, now you can change your prompt and update it. It will replace all the code. You can also handwrite this code, just using standard HTML and JavaScript. We actually have a ReactJS capability. Let's go. It always puts these little backticks in, and even though we've told, this is that kind of a non-deterministic nature. It sometimes does, it sometimes does. But we're going to hit update in here. So you can, another little trick as well is you can make the code changes here, leave this open in one tab, and then just keep changing the application. So let's go through over here and let's just refresh the screen and see whether it's worked. This is like, I love living on the edge, and so let's see. Okay, there it is. So there is our stock chart. Now, by the way, inside of here, it's actually put that price history. So that's the stock chart over there for Tesla. If we went back to, let's go back over here. If we went to, let's say, Apple. So it's pulling in that parameter. It's going and making an API call to an external service, and so on. So there's a few little changes and tweaks that we probably want to make over here. So this price history field, let's go back to our design tab over here. I'm just going to, I'm going to hide that, so we don't want to see that on the screen. That's stored over there. This over here, we're going to change the height. We probably need, let's just give it about 500 in here. And then when we publish it, we're just going to update the current screen. Let's just see if that's worked. We might have to change just the field settings as well on the back end, but let's have a look over here, see how this is done. So when I reload this screen, it'll actually do it itself. It now has removed that thing, and it's given it a bit more vertical height over here. So now we can see everything fitting nicely on the screen. So how easy is that? So we've gone from concept, got a full working stock application with the database. We've gone into Figma. We've changed the look and feel a bit. I mean, we just did a simple thing. We changed it to a savory look and feel, but we could have completely given it a rework over. And we're seeing that, like, to change it, like, really a good Figma designer only should take about a day to be able to do that. And then we added a code widget, which is pulling an API call into that. Now, if you had to go to a designer, a developer, potentially a product manager, and come up with this application and start to give it to users to actually test today and get feedback, that's really what the value that we're trying to add over here is, just shorten that whole cycle, get that valuable feedback of a working application, and then just keep tweaking it and so on. Now, you can use it just for prototyping. We're seeing users, our customers, go all the way into production and develop, some amazing applications. So that's a snapshot of what we've done in these three phases over here, which is we kickstarted with AI, we enhanced with Figma, and then we extended with code. Now, I want to talk about some new features that are coming. So we added, so the first is Flexibuild. So I mentioned before that you'll probably hit a barrier with AI, and like if you created that stock portfolio app, but you wanted it to look like this one on the right, there's a bit of time, effort, and skill to go into Figma and to maybe write some code widgets and that to be able to get it to look like the application on the right-hand side. It's still going to save you a ton of time and effort to be able to do that versus like developing on that on scratch. I mean, if we looked at the application we've developed in the last 45 minutes, and I've done a lot of talking, that's still a lot faster than if you went and developed this. Even if you just went and try to get an LLM to spit out that entire application, all the database, it's just too complex with that. We've made that very, very easy. This new feature, Flexibuild, is going to allow you to get much closer to this with much more sophisticated. So we're busy training the AI model. Like I mentioned, if you sign up to the platform, we're going to start to release this to beta users within the coming weeks. And this is going to allow you to, again, get further with AI. And you'll be able to do things like add chat, change it to a wizard, all sorts of stuff, add a shopping cart, do all those types of things. That's the first killer feature that's coming. Another one that I'm going to give you a quick preview of now is auto markup. So we know that there's 4 million plus Figma users out there, and there's many more millions of Figma files out there. And today, for you to be able to go in and mark up those files manually just using the Buzzy plugin is still way faster than having to develop all the code at the back end, but it's a pain. And we understand that it's a pain. So now we're starting to use AI to automatically mark up and understand what it is. And it's actually pretty amazing. And I'm going to give you a quick preview of this. So let's go. We'll just leave that back there. Let me go to Figma. And I have this is why I'm running the beta. So Figma's released a number of UI kits. We use that as a starting point because it's just nice, well-structured stuff. And this was literally just a couple of, was 3 different screens that we pulled out of that UI kit for a shop. They've got all different patterns and examples. And this is a shop. At this point in time, there is no Buzzy markup on this screen, on this page. Now, if we, I forgot that I'd actually run the screen finder. So you can search for screens and it will look at the Figma file and come up with a set of screens. Again, this is like a pre-beta. We're redoing this interface. But you'll be able to go in and say, hey, that's a screen, that's not a screen. Because you might have other things on the Figma canvas that allow you to do that. So AI has gone in and looked at the Figma file, and then we confirm those screen nodes. Now, what we can do is we can generate the app brief. Now, remember I mentioned before that, so it's looking at the Figma file, trying to work out what this file is based on the screens that you've told it, and it's actually going to generate the application brief. And this is like truly awesome magic stuff. Just bear in mind that I'm dealing with beta software here. And obviously, when I ran through it yesterday, and everything works, so we'll see if the demo gods are at play here. So it's going to go through a process of generating the app brief. Then it's going to generate the data model for you. Then it'll actually allow you to mark up the screens. So what typically would have taken a whole bunch of time to do that, it's going to do that for you literally in a matter of minutes. Now, you probably are going to go screen by screen or chunks of screens at a time. You might have an application with 100 screens in it or 200 screens. You probably don't want to mark all them up in one go and just hope for the best. You probably want to do them, chunks or subsets at a time just to make sure that. But again, this is going to make a massive difference in terms of speeding up the process. I might actually. I don't know why that's taking so long. Like I said, this is using just going to rerun this again. Oh, it's actually done it. So it will. So what it will do is it will actually mark up. It'll actually write this. Now, remember I said in Figma you can actually edit the brief in here, so you can actually come in and change that brief or mini PRD to be able to do that. It'll also go and automatically create the product, the data model for you. So, and this is like truly amazing. I mean, this is like, what a lot of designers don't always understand the innards of doing this and that. So it understands things like you've got a product, you've got a subtable of reviews. Inside that review, it's got a rating field. So these are the reviews over here that are on this screen. It's got a rating field. And then it's also seen that on the screen over here, there's a newsletter subscription page. And it's taking an email, and it's got a toggle over here for subscription status. And like this is like wow, this is amazing. And we're busy training the AI at the moment to be as effective as possible on this. Then in terms of the design stage, so the first step is you mark up the screens, and then let's say if we went into here, it will if we go into the auto markup, let's do this. Let's try to see if we can get this to work. It'll run the AI over the screen and actually automatically mark this up. And again, it's sort of caveat over here. This is pre-release, so it might not work. But let's see if we can. It usually take about a minute or two for each of the screens, and then it will mark those up. So again, we'll release this out in beta very shortly. So again, just sign up to Buzzy. Just get on. We're going to give it to people who are using our product first, and we'll give them access to this feature. So if you're a Figma person, you've got a design file, and you're going, I want to make it work, then we've got this AI capability that we can do that. So it says that it's done over here. So let's see what it's done. So let's go into here. So check this out. This is like absolutely amazing. So you would have had to have gone into everything in the design and said, hey, you know what, this is a field view. So it's actually made this application work. We could do the same thing over here. We could go. So it's a sign, like it knows that that's the field. I don't know why it's actually messed that up. That shouldn't be in the user table, but let's have a look at this. So it knows that the product name is there. It's a summary field. Let's see over here. That's the product price, currency. So again, it's done an amazing job of going through and at least getting you probably that first version of a marked up file that you could just come in now and publish and make it work. So that's the new functionality that's coming with Buzzy Auto Markup. Very, very excited about that. And as I mentioned before, we'll be releasing the Flexibuild stuff very soon as well. We're just in final stages of doing a whole bunch of training. So we're busy training the AIs to deal with that and be more accurate in terms of what they can do. So thank you so much for if you've made it this long in the session. Hopefully that was pretty interesting. Just a summary of what we did is that we can take an idea or a prompt and turn it into a working application in a matter of minutes. Then if needed, you can then enhance with Figma. And then if needed, you can extend with code. That little stock portfolio application was just a very simple example of how you could build that. And I showed you like that AI strategy app. Have a look at our blog site. We've got a ton of articles on there that go through starting with AI, then putting it into Figma, then extending with code, doing all sorts of things like integration with Stripe, and building all sorts of cool applications like the AI strategy planner and so on, and some less boring stuff. And then coming soon, we've got Flexibuild. So Flexibuild is just going to be this amazing capability that's going to take the AI capability in this kickstart phase probably up 10 notches. It's going to give you the ability to go that you would have been chatting with the AI and said, "Hey, yeah, great idea, but please get into Figma." So we're trying to prolong your use in AI and get you further up the mountain with that AI capability. And then obviously you can take the file, you can bring it into Figma, but you can start in Figma today. So you can start with the Buzzy plugin in Figma today, and then the auto markup feature that we've got coming is just going to accelerate how quickly you can get those marks up and go through that painful process. So if you're just a designer working, you want to get something working in the hands of an end user, just go for it. Like, get it in there, start getting that early feedback as soon as you can. Don't have to wait sort of weeks or months for developers to turn that into an actual application. And yeah, just go and have a go with Buzzy. So go to Buzzy, it's free to sign up. You can, if you want to go to the next level, there's a free 2-week trial. Reach out to me and give us feedback. Again, this is bleeding edge new technology. It's not going to be perfect, but it's absolutely awesome. So thanks so much today. Let me see. I don't think there's any questions at this point in time, but we've got a few minutes to go, but otherwise I think we'll wrap up if we do that. So thanks again for watching, and look forward to seeing what you create with Buzzy. Thank you.